Okay, so picture this. It's a scorcher of an October day in Sandton, Josie, and I'm standing in my penthouse right in front of these insane floor to ceiling glass windows. The sun is doing its whole dramatic exit over the Highveld, painting the sky in shades of fiery orange and soft violet. And it's all reflecting in my sparkling pool below. Girl, it's a vibe. I mean, who even has a view like this? Me, that's who. I am Zah, and welcome to Girl Story Animated. Please like and subscribe. I usually don't get home early enough to just chill, but today's different. I was thinking of doing some laps, get my exercise in. But nah, the thought of the gym just wasn't hitting. My inner voice was like, Za, babe, outdoor vibes only. So I ditched the pool idea and decided to go for a quick 5 kilometer jog. Fresh air, good music, you know the drill. As I hit the pavement, my usual route kinda takes a detour. Before I know it, I'm running past the imposing ivy-covered walls of my old school, Violet Crown College. Seriously, it's like my feet have a mind of their own, drawing me back to the scene of so many moments. I see girls on the sports fields, all preppy and energetic, playing netball, their cheers echoing in the late afternoon sun. And just like that, a wave of nostalgia washes over me, heavy and thick. Not the warm, fuzzy kind, more like the kind that gives you full body chills. My name's Zandile, but everyone calls me Za. And this isn't just a story about a girl who made it big. Oh no, honey. This is the story of how I, the daughter of a nanny, the scholarship kid at a school built for heiresses, now stand at these very gates. The same gates that witnessed my toughest days, my most gut-wrenching humiliations. Yet, here I am, not just standing, but thriving. I'm one of Violet Crown's most trailblazing young alumni, a woman who didn't just break the mold, she melted it down and forged her own damn crown. Violet Crown, right? 100 years of spitting out some of the most successful women on the planet. From CEOs to diplomats, these girls are everywhere. It's wild to think that this elite institution, nestled in a leafy, exclusive valley in Sandton, has such a massive ripple effect across the globe. It definitely left its mark on me, that's for sure. Not a gentle kiss, more like a brand, a burning, ever-filling volcano of ambition that still rages within me, all to prove myself, to finally shed that pathetic, pity-inducing label, the scholarship kid. I shake my head, trying to literally shake off the ghosts of my past. Gotta focus, sir. Gotta keep running. The past is the past, right? But some memories just cling, like glitter after a festival. When I finally get back to my condo, I'm drenched, but the emotional sweat is even heavier than the physical kind. The thought of swimming, nah, that ship has sailed. I jump in the shower, let the warm water wash away the day, and then I settle down to work. I've got this massive account from London, a deal that could change everything, and I'm determined to close it this week. But before I dive into spreadsheets and market analysis, a quick scroll through social media is in order. My version of dinner and a show, I guess. And bam, there she is, Sanda, flashing across my feed, looking effortlessly stunning, radiating that carefree rich girl vibe. Just back from modeling at Paris Fashion Week. No biggie, Sanda, always the belle of the ball. Even when we were tiny tots, she knew how to work that dazzling smile, how to turn on the charm, and how to get absolutely anything she wanted. Attention, praise, opportunities, she snagged them all like a pro. Me? I was the polar opposite. I constantly cowered, my self-esteem in the negative, always feeling like an alien in a school full of rich kids whose parents were literally running the world. Meanwhile, my mom was cleaning their toilets. That's the real tea. But Sanda, confidence was her middle name. Whether she was leaping sky high on the netball court or playing the lead princess in every single school play, she just lacked up the attention. That's why I could never, ever understand why she went out of her way to make me miserable. Why did I even matter to her? The truth is, my mom was the head janitor at the Sandton Marble, this super swanky hotel that was part of Sanda's family's empire. When my mom was about to get her 20-year service award, a huge deal, by the way, she humbly approached Mrs. Ndumo, Sanda's mom, and asked for a scholarship for me to attend Violet Crown. Mrs. Ndumo, ever the philanthropist, loved the idea. And just like that, my fate was sealed. I was officially a Violet Crown girl. But Sanda and her crew, they saw me as a total blight. A stain on their pristine, elitist school. Violet Crown never gave scholarships. It was a badge of honor to be old money, to have generations of wealth paving your way. I went through high school like a ghost, without a single friend. Never got invited to any parties, never knew what it was like to just belong. And boys, don't even get me started. The one time I actually liked a boy and he seemed to like me back, total and utter humiliation. Courtesy of yours truly, Sanda and her toxic crew. His name was Fiso. He was from Kings Valley College, our rival school, and we met during an inter-college debate competition. And let me just say, our team, led by moi, absolutely annihilated them. We're talking total schooling, an intellectual beatdown they never saw coming. On the day of the finals, I decided to actually put some effort into my look. You know, for a change. The night before, I carefully twisted my afro, making sure to slather on a generous amount of my trusty Girl Boss Curl Define cream. The next morning when I unraveled them, honey, I had the most gorgeous bouncy curls you could imagine. I gathered them into a high curly puff and then, with surgical precision, used my Girl Boss gel to sculpt my baby hairs into these perfect, delicate coils along my hairline. I'd never rocked this look at school before, and even I had to admit, I looked cute. My eyes, usually hidden behind a wall of self-consciousness, popped, and my thick lips had this natural pout, enhanced by a touch of gloss. When I stepped onto that stage facing Kings Valley, I didn't just debate. I laid down the law. I dismantled every single one of their arguments, squashing their points like they were tiny little ants. The final was a complete bust for them. They were cooked, done. Violet Crown, the underdog, beat Kings Valley for the first time in 5 years. It was a huge deal. Suddenly, all eyes were on me. And I mean all eyes, especially Fiso's. He was the head boy of Kings Valley, their soccer captain, and his family was rumored to be in the mining business. We're talking serious legacy money. Fiso, he was a chocolate dream. Bald-headed with a voice so deep and velvety it could make you melt. Even at 18, he spoke with such command, such presence. He was absolutely blown away that I had beaten them. His team had won the Junior International Debate Cup in Oxford the year before, for goodness sake. I honestly didn't even pay attention to Fiso at first. He was way out of my league, like astronomically out of my orbit. But as I was leaving the auditorium, still buzzing from the win, he stepped up to me. "Congratulations, Zar," he said, his voice even deeper up close. "I've never met an opponent who read my strategy so well. How did you do it?" We exchanged numbers, and our conversations at first were strictly about debating and research. He was prepping for the International Inter-College Debate Competition in Toronto in a month's time, and apparently my brain was the secret weapon he needed. We'd been chatting for about 2 weeks, all via text, when disaster struck. My phone, my lifeline to Fiso and the outside world, suddenly shattered during PT. Sanda and her crew, in their usual petty glory, accidentally pushed me. Hard. They hated the attention I was getting, hated even more that I and the debate team had a special invitation to Toronto. Me, I was beyond excited about Toronto. It would be my first time on a plane, my first time leaving Joburg, let alone the country. A whole new world opening up. And something else was shifting too. My debate teammates, who'd mostly ostracized me for being a nerd and, well, poor like me, started to warm up. Even though we'd been on the team for almost 5 years, they always looked down on me because I didn't come from money. But now, with Toronto on the horizon and our shared victory, their attitudes began to change. They started inviting me to their homes to hang out with them. It felt nice. Like maybe, just maybe, I was finally finding my tribe. When Sandra stomped on my phone and broke it, she probably thought she was making me absolutely miserable. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been secretly investing the 1,000 pocket money I got for transport and lunch since grade 8. Yep, 1,000. I was a silent assassin in the stock and forex markets, a prodigy hidden in plain sight. 5 years later, I had already amassed a cool 1.5 million round. I'd learned, studied, devoured everything about the markets, and I was good. Like, seriously good. Turning over high yields like it was child's play. Sandra thought my old, beat-up school phone was all I had. But that was just a decoy. A prop to maintain my poor scholarship kid appearance at school. It wasn't the device I used for trading, for building my empire. I already knew that even if I flaunted my cash, it wouldn't change anything for them. They cared about my roots, my humble beginnings. That's what mattered in their gilded world. Losing contact with Fiso when my phone broke was a bummer, but I pushed it aside. My focus was Toronto and winning. And win we did. Violet Crown absolutely dominated the competition. That win, that glorious victory, secured me a scholarship to Trouba College, a top-tier maths and statistics college in Europe. When I returned, and the news spread, Sanda, predictably, was the first to make fun of my scholarship to a no-name college. She and most of the girls were headed to Ivy League schools or similar, prestigious places everyone had heard of. What they didn't know, what they couldn't comprehend in their bubble of old money snobbery, was that Trouba was an innovative, cutting-edge school. It was where the leading futurists were emerging, where the next generation of financial disruptors were being forged. But I didn't need to prove anything to them. My path was my own, and it was glorious. The weirdest part about winning in Toronto wasn't the scholarship, though. It was how Fiso suddenly, openly, started seeking me out. Like, out of nowhere. But I was so consumed by a complex mathematical computations project so deep in the world of algorithms and data that I barely had time to text him back. My brain was in overdrive, crafting a future. Then one day after school, as I walked out of the gates, he was there, packed in this ridiculously sleek, beautiful sports car, all shiny and expensive. My heart actually dropped to my stomach when I saw him jump out and practically run towards me as soon as he spotted me. The girls at Violet Crown, huddled in their cliques, absolutely could not believe it. Fiso, the Kings Valley golden boy, had come for me. Ordinary, poor little Zah. They couldn't let it happen. Sanda especially felt a surge of possessive fury. If any girl was going to be with Fiso, it had to be her. She had been secretly crushing on him for ages. Fiso and I started hanging out. It was awkward at first. I really tried to keep my distance, honestly. I just couldn't wrap my head around what he saw in me. Why me? But he was relentless. He'd just appear along my jogging route, like a scene out of a rom-com. Many times he'd show up at school, charming the security guards, just to whisk me away for ice cream before dropping me off at the Sandton Marble. I always had him drop me there, saying I was meeting my mom, which was half true. The other, deeper half of the truth, I was terrified for him to see the small 2-bedroom townhouse my mom and I rented. Kids like Fiso lived in sprawling mansions, probably had never even seen a townhouse complex or the apartments where normal working-class people lived. It wasn't that I was trying to be someone I wasn't, but Fiso just seemed to really like me, and I couldn't shake him off. He was persistent, charming, and genuinely intrigued. One afternoon, he found me at the coffee shop opposite the Sandton Marble, where I was waiting for my mom to finish work. I was deep in my trading world, glued to my laptop, watching the market fluctuate. He watched over my shoulder for about 5 minutes, silent, before he finally spoke, making me jump. "Za," he said, his voice a low rumble. "What are you doing? This is incredible." He was blown away by my trades, by the sheer volume and complexity of what I was doing. From then on, our conversations went from debating to a whole new level. We had more to talk about, sharing secrets of the stock market, discussing strategies, geeking out over charts and numbers. It was exhilarating, a world where my intelligence was not just accepted, but admired. Soon, he gave me 100,000 rand to manage and invest for him. Over the next 2 months, our relationship blossomed. I found myself falling for him hard. He was smart, kind, and for the first time, I felt seen, truly seen, by a boy. I thought, this is it. This is what it feels like to have someone special. Then came the gut punch. 2 months before the final exams, as I was leaving school, my heart dropped to my stomach. There he was, Fiso, standing with his friends, and Sanda and her friends. My stomach churned. A bad feeling, a really bad feeling, settled in my bones. And then Sanda opened her mouth. Her voice, loud and dripping with venom, cut through the afternoon air. "Look, it's the phony poser, still pretending her mum owns the Sandton Marble when she's just the head janitor." My world shattered. Sanda and her crew, emboldened by Fiso's silent presence, ridiculed and humiliated me for what felt like an eternity. 30 whole minutes of pure, unadulterated shame. They splashed water, whatever disgusting concoction was in their Stanley cups, all over me as I tried to walk away, my dignity in tatters. I was furious, beyond angry. My face burned, my eyes welled up, but I refused to let them see me cry. Never. I stormed home, my mind a whirlwind of hurt and betrayal. The first thing I did, I immediately transferred Fiso his money back, a cool 150,000 rand, because in just 6 weeks, I had made him 50,000 rand. Then, with a furious thumb, I closed his account and blocked him. Everywhere. I had spent 3 months talking and hanging out with him, letting myself believe in something real. And he just stood there, looking at me with such utter disgust. I was done. DONE. Forever. And the kicker? I had never said my mum owned the Sandton Marble. It was a cruel lie, concocted by Sanda, and Fiso had bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. Later that afternoon, needing to burn off the raging inferno of anger inside me, I went for a jog. Just my luck, right? I bumped into Lelo, Fiso's best friend. Just my luck, I muttered under my breath. The absolute last person I wanted to see right then. I started running faster, hoping to outrun him, outrun the day. But he sped up, his long strides catching up to me easily. I eventually stopped, my chest heaving, and snapped. "What do you want, Lelo?" He looked genuinely concerned, his eyes scanning my tear-streaked face. "I just wanted to know how you're doing after what happened at the car park today." I bristled. "Mind your business," I retorted, turning to run again. But he shouted after me, "Za, wait! I'm so sorry for not saying anything, for not stopping them." I paused. His apology, raw and heartfelt, actually hit me. I told him it wasn't necessary, but he wouldn't let it go. He went on, his voice full of genuine disappointment, telling me he thought Fiso was a coward for not protecting me. I admitted I was hurt, deeply. But I also told him, with a bitter laugh, that I was used to being looked down upon. Lelo just listened, truly listened. We ended up talking for 2 whole hours on that jogging trail, sharing things I had never, ever shared with Fiso. It was like a dam broke and all my walls came crumbling down. We started meeting every other day, our jogging sessions turning into long, soul-bearing conversations. I even eventually invited him to the townhouse I had been so embarrassed about. And you know what? He never judged me. Not once. His fancy sports car looked totally out of place in our humble complex, but he acted like it was the most normal thing in the world. I appreciated having him as a friend, a secret friend, knowing he had to keep our connection hidden from Fiso and their rich kid circle. I channeled all my pain, all my anger, all my ambition into my studies. My textbooks became my sanctuary, my algorithms, my revenge. And it paid off. I was one of the top performers in the country in grade 12, ranking in the top 10 for maths. When it was time to leave for Truba, I felt this incredible surge of happiness, a new start, a clean slate. Nobody there knew my past. Nobody from my old life would be lurking. At Truba, I met the most amazing, brilliant kids from all over the world. We were all passionate about one thing, building wealth. Not just for ourselves, but making it accessible for everyone. Some were creating innovative platforms, others cutting-edge software, some focused on consumer AI. Me? I poured my heart and soul into building a financial markets trading platform. It had these incredible, finely tuned algorithms that allowed for smaller deposits than most, investing in patterns that made no sense to the average trader, but that yielded massive, mind-blowing returns. This was my legacy, my contribution to a world that had tried to keep me small.
Throughout my time at Truba, Lelo and I stayed in touch. We saw each other every 2 months, whether I flew back to Josie or he came to visit me in Europe. After our first year at varsity, he officially asked me to be his girlfriend. I was still guarded, a little bruised, but I knew that he must really truly like me to commit so much time and effort to maintain our connection across continents. I'd see his social media posts, photos of him with his friends in the UK, and yes, Fiso was always among them, playing in opposing soccer teams, their rivalry a constant backdrop. It was weird seeing Fiso, knowing Lelo was his best friend, but somehow it didn't bother me as much anymore. My world had expanded beyond their small-minded judgments. Then, during our 4th year, a bombshell. Lelo's family business, a respected mining operation, ran into serious difficulties. Crippled by the sudden withdrawal of investments from a huge overseas mining investor, they were in deep trouble. Lelo had to drop out of university, sacrificing his degree to go home and help save the family empire. His friendships, he soon discovered, were fickle. None of his rich friends, the ones with deep pockets and endless connections, came to their rescue. He was considered new money, not legacy money like Fiso and Sanda. When he confided in me, heartbroken and overwhelmed, I didn't hesitate. I offered to assist. He was skeptical, of course, probably thinking, what can a scholarship kid from Truba possibly do? But I wasn't just any scholarship kid. I was ZA. Luna Equities, my company, invested a whopping 100 million rand into his family's business. And not only that, but I also brokered a game-changing deal with an innovative mining equipment manufacturing company owned by a brilliant fellow student I'd met at Truba. By the time I graduated, Lelo's mines weren't just recovering. They were performing above other mines. They were thriving, a testament to resilience and innovation. And guess who came knocking? Companies like Fiso's, trying to reach out, wanting to learn and share and collaborate. Oh, how the wheel had turned. The irony was almost too delicious. By the time I returned to South Africa, dozens of global companies were practically falling over themselves, interested in buying my platform and my trading IP. But I wasn't ready to sell my baby. I wanted experience, wanted to grow my network with both the old and new money titans of industry. So I took on a job at Atlas Capital, a major player. Within 3 years, I was a partner,
All the while, I was still secretly running Lunar Equities, my true passion, my true power play. At 28, I had built a rock-solid network as a partner at Atlas and as the head of Lunar Equities. I was being invited into rooms I never even dreamed existed, let alone that I'd be at the head of the table. One evening, as I was scrolling through my social media and having just seen Sander's latest fabulous post, I paused. A notification popped up that sent a jolt through me. The Sandton Marble was up for sale, and at the exact same moment, another notification appeared. An invitation to join the 10-year reunion group for Violet Crown. A joint reunion with Kings Valley, no less. It was set for 6 months later, giving alumni scattered across the globe enough time to make arrangements. All those miserable high school memories, the snide remarks, the icy stares, the humiliation, they all came rushing back. My heart ached for that insecure, lonely girl I used to be. Lello and I discussed it, and we agreed to attend the reunion together, the outcasts that we were, as he jokingly put it. Though let's be real, his minds had more than recovered. He was a force to be reckoned with, but he still carried a chip on his shoulder for not having graduated. He felt like he needed that degree to feel comfortable and powerful.
Lello, I said, looking him dead in the eye, if a piece of paper is what you need to feel comfortable and powerful, then you have no place being with someone like me. I couldn't believe he still cared about such superficial appearances, about external validation. We broke up for 2 weeks. It was tense, it was painful, but it was necessary. He eventually came back, humbled, apologetic, admitting he'd been immature. We'd been together for almost 7 years by then, a lifetime in my fast-paced world. It had been a crazy 10 years since finishing high school, and so much had happened. I wasn't in touch with a single person from my high school days. Instead, I had built a core group of incredible girlfriends, women I'd met through my work at Atlas and as Luna grew. They were all busy, powerful women, pursuing businesses that were taking them all over the world. They were my tribe, my ride or dies, and they knew the real me, not the Tsar from Violet Crown. A month later, the day of the auction for the Sandton Marble arrived. With a click of a button, a strategic bid, and a calculated power play, I was able to buy it at 30% below its market value. The Ndumos, it turned out, had made a few bad investments, mortgaging their prized hotel into oblivion. They had overextended, underestimated, and now it was mine. All mine. And what did I do with my new acquisition? I gifted the Sandton Marble to my mother. Her eyes, filled with disbelief and then tears of joy, were the only validation I ever needed. She chose to run it, pouring her heart and soul into the place she had once cleaned. She even started training her sister's ambitious daughter to eventually be CEO. The Sandton Marble, once a symbol of my shame, was now a beacon of hope and opportunity for my family. Many good days were still ahead. Upgrades and renovations would be finished in 4 months, and I had a plan. The grand relaunch would be on the day of our reunion. I even sent the school a notice offering to host the reunion at the hotel for free. No charge, because that's how a queen operates. On the day of the reunion, the driveway of the Sandton Marble was a parade of flashy cars, Bentleys, Mercedes, Porsches, you name it. Alumni from both prestigious schools arrived, their designer clothes and expensive smiles on full display, each with their perfectly curated plus ones. I arrived with my plus ones, my 3 powerhouse girlfriends who had come to support me, yes, but also to network and make some serious connections. As soon as Sanda and her friends sashayed in, they were, predictably, the center of attention. I watched from just behind the reception desk, a knowing smile playing on my lips. Then Fiso and his crew arrived, bringing with them a different kind of buzz, a louder, more boisterous energy. When Sanda finally spotted me standing cool and collected behind the reception, she dramatically drew attention to me. Well, 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 she sneered, her voice carrying across the lobby. At least Za's doing better than her mom. She's made it to reception, not just janitorial services. Her friend snickered. I simply smiled, a genuine, confident smile that didn't reach my eyes. Welcome, everyone, to the Sandton Marble, I said.
my voice calm and clear, completely unfazed. Our maitre d' will guide you to the ballroom where the reunion is taking place. Fiso didn't even look my way, striding past with a stunning leggy girl on his arm. It stung a little, I won't lie. A ghost of the past trying to poke me. But I quickly shook it off. This was my night. As the reunion officially began, the principals of both colleges went on stage to deliver their welcome addresses. It was always a big event, with alumni from all years crashing the party, so there were easily over 2,000 former students from both schools packed into the lavish ballroom. During their addresses, it was customary to recognize alumni who were making significant strides. The first recognition? For the new owner of the Sandton Marble, for hosting the reunion completely free of charge. And then, the mic drop. Tonight wasn't just a reunion. It was the grand relaunch of the hotel, which had officially become an Omega 7-star hotel. A rare, almost unheard of assignment for a hotel in South Africa. A place that would soon be hosting presidents and kings for the G20 conferences taking place in just 2 months. The principals then invited the owner of the Sandton Marble and the lead of the G20 Fair Trade sector, a position I also held, because why not, to welcome everyone and set the tone for the evening. They listed a long, impressive litany of my accomplishments, hinting that I was part of the class celebrating its 10th anniversary. I could hear the excited whispers ripple through the crowd as people tried to speculate who this mysterious, accomplished alumna could be. All of this after the initial shock of learning that Sanda was no longer the heiress of the Sandton Marble. I even had Sanda pipe up, trying to save face, claiming her family had diversified away from the hotel business because it's not a moneymaker. I scoffed inwardly. I knew the truth. She was more focused on living the rich and famous lifestyle than actually working in her family's business, despite having a business degree from a global university. I walked onto that stage, my head held high, and shook the principal's hand. My afro, beautiful, strong, and healthy, styled with my own Girl Boss products and left out in all its glory, framed my glowing copper-brown skin. I looked like a stunning Nubian queen, ready to reclaim my throne. I then launched into an electric analysis of trading futures, setting a powerful intellectual tone for the networking conversations that would follow. Those from my year, the ones who had dismissed me, gasped in disbelief. This was Zandile Simbi, the woman everyone in finance circles was talking about? Many of them never even knew my surname. As I walked off the stage, Lelo was there waiting. He pulled me into a warm, lingering hug and kissed me. Clearly, possessively, marking me as his and making it clear to everyone in the room exactly who I was with. The evening passed in a blur of conversations, deal-making, and power plays, stretching well into the next morning. I didn't speak to anyone from my old class, even though the girls from my debate team tried to suggest a mini reunion. I moved with Lelo and my amazing girlfriends, the women who never judged me for my background, who celebrated my success. Fiso and his date eventually approached Lelo and me as they were leaving. Fiso, visibly uncomfortable, stumbled over his words. So, when did this happen? Lelo just smiled, a confident, knowing smile. We're 7 years strong, man. Fiso and his friends were visibly shocked. Fiso tried to make small talk, clearly attempting to broach meeting up, and I knew he wanted to talk business, to get a piece of the zapai, but I had no interest. I moved away, leaving Lelo to handle the conversation. I knew Lelo missed his friends. After all, they grew up together. I wouldn't deny him that connection, but my boundaries were firm. A month later, Mrs. Ndumo asked to meet with me to discuss possible collaboration and to help them with their business. She had been good to my mom and me, and so I honored the meeting. During discussions, a much more humble Sanda came in and apologized to me. It turns out that Mrs. Ndumo always compared her to me, even though Sanda did well at school and sport. Her mom, in trying to push her to be even better, used a tactic that made Sanda resentful of me and this led to me having a most miserable high school experience. Whilst I agreed to assist Mrs. Ndumo, it was on condition I never have to deal with Sanda. I bumped into Sanda at a business mixer leading up the G20, and she did the right thing and steered clear of me. Our eyes crossed a few times, and at least this time, there was no resentment and disdain. She actually looked like she envied and admired me. No matter, I have moved on. The year was turning out to be my best year yet, and to top it off, Lelo proposed, and I said yes. Even though in private, I told him I would probably be ready for marriage in 3 or 5 years' time. There is still so much to build and enjoy until then.